All right, welcome back to the final video in this series. We're going to be doing a quick retro over, kind of go over all the milestones at a high level in terms of likes, and then we'll dive into the retro and we'll talk about some of the key takeaways from this series, and then we'll talk about some of the stats and goals and whether I missed them or made them, and then we'll take a sneak peek at the next series that I'm starting to ramp up on. So overall, pretty successful, but it was so long that I almost forgot, what I had been doing at the very beginning of this because it's been probably 30 days or something like that. Getting up there, what did I put? It's been 48 hours, so that's about 24 days, kind of a thing. So with Astropop, pretty big flop in terms of putting out a demo of the laser, the mining laser feature. Only 4 likes and 2,000 views. I did screw up the post, and so you couldn't see the thumbnail or the video in the post itself. You had to open it up, and then you would see that there's a video there. So that contributed probably a really big part to that. But I don't expect it to go up that much more because Astropop looks like ass, generally speaking. It looks like a Godot 3 tutorial or something. So I have work to do there, and we're going to take a look at what we might do in the next series with that. But I've got some other things lined up about with Astropop that are interesting as well. We'll get into those in series 3 too. So WJ, which is Whirlwind Jimmy, was another pretty big flop. I expected this one to do way better, but I did screw up the post. So that played a big part in it, and maybe I should repost just to sort of course correct there, make sure that I've got the right level of engagement that we should be getting. But only 4 likes, 2,000 views, so I'm ready to just bury that one. But I think maybe I'll just repost it as part of Series 3, just to double check. The next one, teleportation demo, this set new records for me. Got 56 likes, 9,000 views, and pretty happy with this one. And this is Twist Turns and Tragedies, where I added an avatar that could teleport between the levels, and people like that. I mean, the artwork in that is really great. It's not my artwork; it's somebody else's. People love that artwork, and so I get a lot from that. But I think people generally like the teleporting ability in this one. So we're definitely going to be taking a look at this one, and it could become the major project that we carry forward. More on that soon. And then Chaos Crate, this one got cut. We went over this one in previous videos where we went from a giant project down to basically a boring toy that there was nothing interesting there to play around with. So I ended up cutting this whole entire feature, and I'm glad I did. So it was a really good process. Godot Valet, I posted an update here, so we added obfuscation, so which is a nice feature. I would expected more people to be interested in it and pinging me for requests and bugs and stuff, but very little engagement. Only 7 likes, 2,000 views, so basically a failure. Fine, I didn't really want extra work from that anyway, but I do want to continue chipping away at the obfuscation option. Godot Valet, the resource manager feature, we did a POC just to kind of put together what is it going to be like to add this new feature to Godot Valet, and only 2 likes, 3,000 views, so really low engagement on it. It was a really ass-tastic mock-up that I scribbled in Procreate, so I guess that's fine. It's not expected. We'll see how things go because I do plan to do this in Series 3, at least a thin slice of that feature. I still need to work out the plan for it though. And then we have Nightcrawler, and this is one of the milestones that I wasn't looking forward to. I was ready to just cut it along with Rhoda and just say, nope, not doing these. I'm just going to go jump on the teleportation demo, the Twist Turns and Tragedy, because I got 56 likes and that's my record. So I'm just going to go for it. But I actually said, no, this whole series is all about practicing, releasing, and iterating. And what I ended up doing in this one is really interesting, and I get into this more in the retro, is that I set a goal for myself to try and beat my previous record, my Reddit record of likes of 56. And I said, what do I, and that was key to this. And I started developing this. And then as I got towards sort of functionally complete with the teleportation, I just started asking the question, is this going to beat my previous record? And the answer kept coming back no. And so I kept adding polish and refinement and changing things up. And then I took it quite a bit further than I normally would have just by using that sort of approach, and ended up getting 150 likes. So shattering my previous record. That was awesome. Got 12,000 views. And so pretty huge success. And actually, this taught me probably the most out of the entire series, working on this project and digging out the fun, making it look nice. And we'll get into that more in the retro, so I won't go too far here. But yeah, the one project that I was ready to cut because I didn't see the value in a platforming mechanic was the biggest teacher. So there you go. All right, next one is Rhoda. And this was another one where I just took from a big idea and trimmed it down to what should have been the small tiny toy, and realized that that tiny toy was not fun at all, and it ended up cutting it. I think that was a good decision. I still can't think of some way to use it in a fun, interesting way that wouldn't require a ton of other content. So I'm fine with that for now. Maybe some in the future, some cool idea pops in my head and we revisit, but it is dead and in the graveyard for right now. And I probably just won't even think of it again. So, because I'm practicing that, I'm practicing letting go because I think it's so important. Okay, let's take a look at the retro. We could talk about goals first, how we did. The one thing I noticed is that I had this major goal of release a successful game, which we all have, but I didn't really drive towards it. I didn't say like, okay, this thing right here is contributing to doing that thing, and I want to go after that a little bit more in Series 3 to make sure that everything's aligning with getting to that goal a little bit more aggressively, if you will, but with intention, And so here are my minor goals. Practice releasing. I felt like I was doing that a lot, but I really wasn't, because I only released 2 things. I only released Godot Valet and Astrobot, or Astropop. Keep calling it Astrobot. So not a lot of releases, but I did post a lot of reaction videos, and so that was good. I think I ended up with 6 or 7. Yeah, 6. And I learned quite a bit in posting those. Made a bunch of mistakes, but learning. So that's good, and I want to keep doing that. In fact, going forward in Series 3, I want to make sure that all my projects are being released or not done at all, kind of a thing. So we'll work on that. Practice finding the fun. This is probably my biggest learning out of the whole entire series, is just how to find the fun and how to really drill down and answer a lot of questions that I normally don't ask or think to ask. One of the things that I used was a high score driven development, which is just challenge myself to beat my previous record. And that really pushes me a lot further down the road in terms of adding polish and sounds and backgrounds and everything else. Keep asking, what would it take to get people to hit that like button? And that's really great exercise. And then doing toys was really good, but discovering that there's a tremendous amount of value in breaking your features down into toys and then looking at them under a microscope and just going, when this feature is stripped down to just itself, is it fun by itself? Or is it just some mundane feature that you can never post and get likes or reactions to? And then in your game, if you were to do that with all your features and mechanics, breaking down to the very minimum, could you polish them up in such a way that you could get good reactions? And if not, maybe these are just mundane features that aren't really going to contribute to like your key selling points. And then what are your key selling points in your game? For example, gliding, right? Like I think of some recent games where gliding was like a major feature and it was a huge selling point for that game. And so I can imagine if you were to break that feature down to its bare minimum and then go, well, let's polish this up and we could just create a map to fly around in. And that's one of the first things you do when you go to demo that. You're just going to get huge likes. People are going to be paying attention, and then you could start adding content on top of that. You know what I mean? And if you have a number of those gems, then you've got something really great to work with that you can just throw other content in, and you're already going to have good success because you've got those gems nice and polished. So I just think there's tremendous value in thinking about your features as toys. One of the other things I'm trying to do is just kind of get some more balance in life and health and sitting in front of a screen all the time. So I'm trying to limit my time, trying to take a lot of breaks, a lot of walks, a lot of outside, that kind of thing. And it's helping, I think. It's stabilizing my thought process. Like I don't feel as panicked going through this whole process. I feel like I have lots of time to get all the things done So that's really nice. One of those things where you slow down to hurry up. So what else? Practice video editing. I want to do that some more. I think right now I'm just kind of grinding. I'm doing the same things over and over with the editing. So I want to figure out some things to practice and get better at in that space. So we'll take a look at that. All right. So what else? We have the previous series, the series 1 that I did, where I took a step back from my bigger projects and said, I need to release something because I'm just stuck in sort of churn mode on my bigger projects. And I knew that something was wrong. I just didn't know what. So I took the step back. We did series 1, 7 parts, a lot of lessons learned there. I released the whole thing at once, which was a big mistake. We could see that the view counts are dismally low. 103 is my record. Only a few likes on these. So I do need to work on the format, the content, structure, presentation, all of those things. And so I think I did that a little bit in series 2. I just didn't really focus on it as much. But then again, I didn't really know how poorly these were going to do as I got into this one. So I also have to look at what are my goals for being a YouTuber. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I just want to share this journey and have it help me kind of drive that journey a little bit as well, sort of an accountability thing. So we'll see. We'll mix some of that into series 3. All right. So whatever. Okay. What are the big takeaways? And one of the big ones is the high score driven development, just pushing myself to try and beat my previous high score of likes. Thinking of it in those terms just really helped increase the quality overall. So I just want to keep that in mind, to keep using that as a tactic and go, is this going to beat that last one? If not, let's just keep working on it. Let's spend a couple more hours getting it to where it needs to be. And that's something that in the past I've always shortcutted myself. I always said this is good enough. It's showing kind of the functionality of it, and people are just going to have to envision how sexy it could be if I were to add all the polish. I just need to stop doing that. I'm hurting myself by not going the distance. Number 2, FDD, something fun-driven development has been around, and it's just the general idea is, follow the fun during your development. If you find something that's really fun and it's not super feature creep, then yeah, definitely go after it and make sense of it. But I think fun-driven development should actually be broken down more, and it should be actual unit tests where you actually create like Reddit posts in advance of doing the feature work and describe, what the post, give it a title, some catchy title, and then what is your 7 to 10 second video that's going to describe that feature. And when you think about it in those terms, you have to go, well, that's not fun by itself. So what are we going to have to do to make this fun? What kind of polish, explosions? What do I need in the environment, the background? Am I going to need enemy units to showcase this thing? And I have some examples in here. You can pause or whatever if you need to. But so here's an example for step 1. I want to showcase something in a game, and I used Astropop, I think, for this. Yeah. So a scene where we show the mass slaughter of enemies, bugs, with a minigun around an active ore extractor that we are defending. So in thinking about that, what do I need? I need that character to look really great. I need the minigun to sound and look really great. I need the bugs to be slaughtered in a really fun way. And so now I'm starting to kind of vision what the scene needs to look like. Then I can come up with a title for it, just drills, chills, and kills, right? So that's catchy. Then we have our 7-second clip where we're going to do a bunch of this stuff. But then we got to think about, okay, in order to do that, in order to showcase this, to get like 100 to 200 plus reactions, what do we need to do? And it's quite a bit of work, right? You have to finish the character, I have to finish the character animations, the minigun animations, the sounds. I have to get a enemy bug in there to slaughter with all of its effects and blood and gore or whatever else. So it's quite a bit. But that gets us to really good sort of thin slice of, okay, if we wanted to showcase this is everything we would need. Now we're thinking about ROI and reactions, and it's just a really good exercise to write your fun unit test in advance of doing the work. And so I think down here, you could pause down here too. I came up with a bunch for just Astropop and TTT. So you might get some examples for these where I created a title and a scene and then started thinking through what it would take to get to that. And then I can prioritize those based on effort and sort of natural alignment. But then also make sure that I'm actually creating some fun features where I've really thought them through what it would take for them to truly be fun in the eyes of others. Okay, so enough on that, but this is probably the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway here of the whole series. Number 3, and I'm not going to go into all of these, I've got a few more. Number 3, have a plan, obviously, but I just kind of realized that it's important to have the whole plan, the end-to-end plan, and everything between sort of mapped out in order to do like a thin slice. If you're going to do a thin slice, it needs to be a slice of a whole and not just a slice of unknown, open-ended randomness, because that's not a thin slice. That's a POC is what that is. And so it's a different mindset to say, well, before I get started on anything, maybe I do a POC because I'm not sure about something. But if I'm sure about everything in the plan or the game itself, the whole idea, then what I need to do is put the plan together so that I can carve out a thin slice of it. And that thin slice should be no guesswork, right? It should just be task after task after task until you're done. What else? Number 4, boiling down game ideas into a collection of toys. It's just because you can get such greater visibility into whether these things are fun or not, and whether you have enough fun things in your game to have as selling points for your game to make your game stand out a little bit. So this one's really big. Whatever. I'm getting better at burying my graveyard projects and not digging them back up, and I'm practicing just letting go. I think it's super important to make forward momentum, just to let go of those big ugly projects, the big Frankensteins. And what else? Okay, I think that's it. We can go take a look at the M3, how it's shaping up. There we go. Okay, so gonna be roughly the same, but I am refining the process overall. So we're going to have a prep phase, which is what we're going to go into right now, next. And that's going to be refining the new goals and then putting plans together for any of the projects I pull in. I've got some placeholders here. These are the projects that are probably, I'm going to at least look at and touch. We have the resource manager for Godot Valet. We have Twist Turns and Tragedy, which is probably going to end up being one of my main projects. And I'm probably going to do the plan for it and see how far I get. And then we're definitely going to be doing a pretty hefty slice on that, I think. And then one of the things that this whole retrospective has brought about is the question, am I ready to take on a big project yet? After all the lessons learned from Series 1 and Series 2, have I solved the problems that have been preventing me from finishing a larger project? I think that I've gotten some of them, but is it enough? And do I need to keep practicing anything? And what I'm afraid of is I just don't know. I don't know what it is that I need to practice to get those bigger projects done. So if you have suggestions, I'm all ears. But I think in this next iteration, we did a whole bunch of little things. Now we're just going to do a few mid-sized small things. It seems like a good natural sort of approach to get me closer and closer to that bigger project. So, but I'm still open to other suggestions. So Astropop is here. I don't know if we're going to pick up any feature work for that, because it is a problem, because it is so ugly that I need to spend a lot of time coming up with a better ship, better base, better looking asteroids, better space. It's a lot of visual work that needs to be done because I didn't do enough initially, which was fine because Series 1 was all about just getting something released. Later on, I learned, well, I need to do the visuals as well, and make sure that it's, super sexy all along and not try to plan that stuff for later, because that doesn't work out. So I have some technical debt in Astropop, which is expensive. So I'm gonna have to chew on that a bit for how I approach that. Nightcrawler grapple. So this one's kind of easy. It was my current record for Reddit likes, so I do need to follow up here, I think. And we're just gonna update the toy a little bit, add a grapple, and then play around with it and see how it feels, see what the reactions are, and see if I can beat my previous record. Just make sure there's enough in there to do that, or at least match it would be fine. And then Astropop 1d6. We're talking about a pen and paper implementation of Astropop, which I've been playing around with on the side. I found some solo RPGs on itch.io, which I love. I wish they were easier to do, easier to get into. A lot of them, you get these modules, and they're complex, they're busy. They don't provide all the rules, or not everything you need is there, or you just basically have to go into La La Land with your imagination for the whole entire thing, making up all of the content. And I'm just not really great at doing that. And so I wanted an implementation of a solo adventure game where basically I provide everything you need, and it's simple, and I'll provide a little bit of story for you so that you're going on a journey. And I realized that Astropop might be, since I have the vision for the whole game, I was like, could I actually write this as a pen and paper 1d6 game? Yeah, and maybe that helps me flesh out some of the features for Astropop. So that seemed kind of fun. And so I've been working on it kind of on the side in my free time, but I'm thinking of pulling it in and doing an official iteration on it, just to spend more time on it, more dedicated time on it. So that is what Series 3 is shaping up to be. And the next time you see me, we will be doing the kickoff, and that should be probably in a week or so. All right. Cheers. Bye.